What's up, world, and welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like here at the Real News Network. I'm Jared Ball in Baltimore. Today for this edition, we're going to talk with two activists as part of an up-and-coming organization, Peace by Peace, part of the American Friends Service Committee broader project of operations. And to discuss that with us today, we have Fariji Muhammad, who is the director of the Baltimore Chapter of Peace by Peace,
Right.
and Kadijah Austin, who is the program director or coordinator for the Atlanta Chapter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Welcome to the Real News, and I Mix What I Like.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for having us.
So Fariji, let's start with you. Tell us about Peace by Peace. What is it, and what is its history, and what does it intend to do?
Well, Peace by Peace is a collective of young organizers that have decided to come together to work toward the means of peace, justice, and unity, especially in disenfranchised, marginalized communities of color, in a way that we can get young people organized and politically engaged in making sure that there's some real changes happening in our community, some systemic changes, and changes that that will really bring about some Black sustainability. So it's a group of folks that are looking to take the call for social justice, the call for peace to the next level, and to really transform the communities that we are currently in right now, the hoods and those deserts that we see within the urban cities all across the country, to transform them into places where we can see some life again.
Okay. And Kadijah, tell us a little bit about some of the projects that have begun here with Peace by Peace to support these broader goals.
So recently with Peace by Peace, we have acquired 3 houses in our different cities. So we have a house in Baltimore, a house in Atlanta, and a house in New Orleans. Our goal is to have community houses where we really focus on sustainability, as well as it could be like an activist hub, where activists and organizers are able to really come together and to really build strength and really build the community.
And when you talk about these houses, it's not, so that people aren't confused, they're not houses in which people are actually living, like in terms of family. They're houses that were purchased for the organization to create spaces in communities to do this kind of work. And as we're talking off air, I don't mind sharing, a few years ago, I got a phone call, and the voice on the other end of the phone said, Jared, I want you to help me put me in touch with activists in the DC area who, if I purchased the house for them to use, they could put it to good use in their community. And not being used to those kinds of offers, it didn't register. I was like, oh, man, you should call, maybe you should do something else. And I never dealt with it. And fortunately, a few years later, I've come to find out through Kamal Franklin and the American Friends Service Committee that others did get the call, the same call from this funder, took him up on his offer, and now, as you've said, there are now 3 houses. Could you tell us, Fariji, a little bit about this funder and this goal of his to support this particular project?
Well, I know in Baltimore, he was inspired by what we experienced here with the Freddie Gray situation. Right. So, seeing that and hearing about just a larger movement for social justice as it relates to police brutality, he gave us a call. Kamal Franklin, who serves as the regional director for AFSC, got that information and
didn't do what I did.
Right,
he
same way you
took
did.
the call and actually, followed up on it and made it, turned it into something,
and,
value.
We moved right out on it, and at first we were trying to get a little bit like, oh, okay, well, is this legit? Is this for real? But then, it was. And so, we're certainly grateful for the opportunity to have, we have a house in Baltimore here, we have a house in Atlanta, we have a house in New Orleans. And so we're branching out to really shift the paradigm of what it means to be a community center. A lot of times when you see those type of community centers, it's often outside of the very areas that are impacted by violence and drugs and that have low voter registration in all of those areas. So these houses sit right there so that it's accessible for our people. It's accessible for young people to come in and to see it as a safe haven. And then at the same time, as Kadijah mentioned, you're really organizing, you're strategizing. And I think it's all part of the power of the reality that we're trying to get back to getting our own resources and rebuilding the institutions, because growing up, Brother Jared, we had those type of places in our communities. But then over the years, those places started to slowly diminish and decline.
Yeah.
And so with us here in Baltimore in particular, we're using the house as an opportunity for us to do some of that great work. And then, to have some programs running out of it. We're looking to have a community garden where we can serve our people right there in those neighborhoods. We're looking to use the house for those conversations. You talked about in the past having like a book club. Those discussions should happen right there within those community houses. And it'll be a great opportunity for us to really transform the dynamics and the culture of that community. So when you have a center, like a resource center like that in the community, it only brings things to life. And so that's important for us as organizers.
Kadijah, Fariji mentioned the term desert, and I know one of the things that you all are focusing on are food deserts, and that's seriously a problem here in Baltimore that actually came to new light as a result of the Freddie Gray uprisings, that people were worried about where would they be able to shop, and all that. And I know in Atlanta there are similar issues with that as well. Could you talk a little bit about some of what you all are doing to address that particular issue or other issues of desertification that may exist in that community?
Well, in Atlanta, that is a huge problem, food deserts, and especially in like our house is in the Pittsburgh area of Atlanta. And in the neighborhood, if you walk around, you can tell that there's no fresh fruits and vegetables. There's nowhere where people can get any food besides something that is processed and overly processed. And we all know what that does to our body, And especially with us trying to rebuild community, one of the best ways to really rebuild community is to rebuild the way that we eat. And so in Atlanta, we're working on starting our co-op, our urban farming co-op. So that's one of the major initiatives. And we want to include community members, because the whole point is to really democratize and to share the wealth together. Because that's what it's really about. That's what community is about.
Some of it, I understand that the project is designed also to deal with the struggle beyond just issues of policy. That is somewhat you both have mentioned, that it's about building community, getting people involved, just collectively working together, and out of that can come a number of great things. Tell us a little bit about the crowdfunding project that you have going on and the video that's associated with it, because we definitely want to help people get in touch with that effort and join the work that you're doing here.
Yeah, the crowdfunding program and campaign that we have, started on Monday, on January the 18th. So it's an opportunity for folks to invest in the work of Peace by Peace, especially those cities that have houses like Atlanta, Baltimore, and New Orleans. And essentially to help us to get some of these houses up to a specific level where we could do the services and the program straight from these homes.
Truly engage the community.
We had limited funds in the sense of that, our investor, he didn't say, look, let me give you $1 million.
Right.
But, there were certain conditions that we had to use, that we had to abide by in order to have these houses.
Right.
So the houses need to be repaired. The houses need to be painted. There needs to be some modification on some of the structure. And so the crowdfunding crowdfunding campaign is an opportunity for here you're going to invest in these houses that are essentially going to invest in the community. So it's often I know as a professor, you've talked about the importance of systems. And I think that as I'm in my growth and development, and as Kadijah's in her growth and development, having one-day events is not enough.
Right.
Not at all.
You could do the coat drives, and that's good. You can do the food giveaways on Thanksgiving, and that's good. But at the end of the day, that doesn't change anything in the sense of real sustainability. So the crowdfunding source and with this type of investment allows us to continue to do that on a very consistent basis.
As you were saying that, in Kadijah, I want to ask you this as we get ready to close, but it occurred to me that the launch of this campaign begins on Dr. King's holiday, the day set aside to commemorate him. But as you were just saying, Dr. King's work was not just about a one-day event. It was not just about let's show up and then go home. It was about sustained, direct action, nonviolent direct action. It wasn't just nonviolence, it was direct action meant to be a part of his call to all of us. And as I'm thinking about that also, could you say a word in closing about that maybe, but also about the title of your organization, Peace by Peace? That is PEACE by Peace, PEIECE, good Lord. But Peace by Peace, how do we, what is that phrase meant to say in terms of this long, extended struggle that King was encouraging and that I know you all are extending in your work?
Mm-hmm. So with Peace by Peace, we are really, like you said before, we are really all about building that community and building that strength and really uplifting the people, especially the young people. And the phrase, from what I know, with Peace by Peace, is really all about bringing that peace, that level of peace and security to the community. And really, and through that, we can really make some real big difference and some real big changes. So that's our hope for with these houses and with what we have going on. So.
And if I could add, you talked about Dr. King, and Brother Jared, one of the things that Dr. King did before he was assassinated, he really had a view. His vision changed after 1963. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know it, but many folks, we still harp on the I have a dream, but look 5 years afterwards, by the time it's 1965 through 1968, his personal politics had changed. Yeah. And so even to the final year of leading up to his death, he spoke out about Vietnam 1 year to the day.
That's right.
On April 4th, 1967. He had the Poor People's Campaign.
That's right.
It was in that final year where he started to look at economics. And he said, you don't have to throw a Molotov cocktail. That if the system is not going to give justice to the people, then we have to redistribute the pain economically. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're doing. He provided us a framework by which we can go and attack the system, not standing out in front of somebody's door yelling and screaming for justice, but withholding our money at that time. Mm-hmm. So he said, let's not support Heart's Bread and let's not support this company and that company. Well, that's what we're doing. Nonviolent direct action. When you're starting to establish institutions in the community, then that's redistributing the pain. Because now you're shifting the focus from downtown to now putting the power back in the hands of the people. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially what we're doing. And it's piece by piece because we're taking small pieces. And so when we're in our crowdfunding campaign, we're saying, look, just a couple of dollars. It don't have to be $1,000. You can give $5, $10, $15, $20, $25 or so, whatever you can give. We're inviting young folk. Look, man, I know you may not have a lot of money as a college student, mm-hmm. right. but you can give something to a cause that's essentially helping to redirect the paradigm.
I see plenty of students with Beats headphones. I know they went to pay for some whack movie to go see. They bought a whack album. They can put some money.
We spend money on things that we consider to be important. Mm-hmm. And now we're in that culture, like, where we say, I don't have no money, but you got a Gucci belt. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got money. So let's be very wise, especially in this day and time, mm-hmm. to use that money and to support something that's going to really garner some real benefit, especially for our interests.
Well, Fariji Muhammad, Kadijah Austin, thank you very much for joining us here at The Real News, and I Mix What I Like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here as well at The Real News, and I Mix What I Like. And for all involved here in Baltimore, I'm Jared Ball, saying as Fred Hampton used to say, to you we say peace if you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody, and we'll catch you in the whirlwind. I mix what I like.